Here we are on to the second etch in stone lithography. So getting started, you're going to need an ink knife and ink. Graphic Chemicals Shop Mix Black tends to be a good all-round ink for this process as well as for printing. You will also need the faux leather roller, that is the rubber roller with a slight furry texture on it. Let's get started. Open your ink and you will find, compared to many other inks, that this particular ink and some other litho inks are quite stiff, quite thick. So try not to gouge into the can of ink, skim along the surface, and place some down on your glass work table. We're going for maybe a teaspoon, maybe 2 teaspoons worth of this ink. Again, it's not easy to work with. It doesn't flow like most of the other inks you'll be familiar with. So because ink is thixotropic, which means that as you move it around, it goes from being solid to a little bit more liquid, or it becomes more malleable. The viscosity kind of breaks down. We want to work the ink a little bit on the side of the glass before we spread it out into 3 or 4 ribbons and start to roll up. So rarely will I put the rubber roller or any roller on the glass and leave it there, but in this case I'm placing it simply so that I know how wide a ribbon I need to make with my ink. And once I get that first ribbon down, I will then take the roller and place it back in its holder so as not to damage it or flatten it in any way. So first ribbon down, here comes the second one. You can squiggle back and forth, or you can push down and move in a straight line. But the punchline with this particular ink is that you have to push quite hard and drag it all the way across in order to ensure you don't run out of ink. You actually won't run out of ink. It's just that it's so thick and tough to work with that it tends to want to go down in chunks. So there is my first 3 ribbons, and I can begin rolling. I've switched to not wearing gloves. I prefer actually not wearing gloves when I'm rolling. You can feel it on the palms of your hands and on your fingers, but you tend to keep things a little bit cleaner, and once you develop a little bit of callousing, or at least become used to the sensation, it's easier and better with bare hands. So I'm rolling back and forth until I get as even a slab as I possibly can, and you'll note that as I bring the roller back to me, I lift it just a little bit and twist and then set it back down. And that ensures that every time I'm rolling, or every time or two that I roll back and forth across the slab, the ink is being distributed in a new place. If I just push back and forth, the ink only goes in the same spot every single time. So it's subtle, but you'll note that I am doing that. The one other thing to mention here is that you should be able to hear the ink as you roll it. It should make a slight hissing noise, but it shouldn't be too loud. If it's too loud, you have too much ink. And too much ink spells trouble with stone litho. After the ink is ready, I'm going to fill 1 bowl 3/4 of the way with cold water. It's important that it's cold. And 1 empty bowl. And then I have my printing sponges, a square one or a rectangle, and then one with the edge cut off. And so now moving over to the stone, I've got a clean blue shop towel and some biodiesel, and I'm going to begin the washing out process. So I'm going to put some biodiesel onto the surface of the stone. Remember, this stone is currently buffed down under gum after that first etch. So this biodiesel, what we're attempting for it to do is to dissolve away some or all of the drawing material on the stone. This is a slow solvent. Biodiesel is a very slow solvent. It's not a solvent in the conventional sense. And as a result, 2 things for anyone who's familiar with stone lithography are not going to happen. That is, all of the image is not going to wash out. In particular, that photo transfer is not going to wash out. The biodiesel doesn't dissolve it the way acetone or white spirit or some other harsh chemical would. Biodiesel, as I said, works very slowly, and as a result, this process might take 5 or 6 or more minutes. And in fact, I'm going to add more biodiesel on a couple of occasions here, and gently but assertively work at the image. You'll note that the crayon marks, or the more kind of conventional litho materials, will wash out most of the way. Still not to the same extent as if we were doing this with really poisonous stuff, but most of the way. And once I get to that point, I'm going to take my asphaltum and I'm going to place a small amount on the edge of my blue shop towel, and I'm going to buff it into the stone. So this process is to provide a very thin greasy, evenly applied printing base. The biodiesel removed the old drawing, which would have been inconsistent in terms of its height, thickness, and that sort of thing. And this replaces all of that drawing material evenly and thinly. So I will continue to buff this in evenly and smoothly. It's not quite the same as buffing in gum during the etching process when you get to the gum etches, but it's similar. You need to put some effort into it and ensure that that layer of asphaltum is really into the drawing. And once you get to the point where it is pretty smooth and even on the surface, we can move to the washout. So fresh water right on top of the stone. I'm using my good sponge to squeeze out water, but then I'm never touching my good sponge to the stone because at this point there is gum arabic and there is a thin layer of asphaltum, and both of those will soil my sponge and make it really unsuitable for printing. So anytime I add water, I add it from above and then I use a shop towel to rinse away. So I'm rinsing away the water-soluble gum layer, and the gum layer in some spots where there's no image has a little tiny bit of biodiesel and a little bit of asphaltum, and that is all being removed. But the asphaltum that I just laid down is staying stuck into the stone. Asphaltum is not soluble in water. So after a minute or so with the blue shop towel and a couple of squeezes of fresh water, I can then move over to my dampened grubby sponge. That is the sponge with a big G on it. And now I'm ready to use the good sponges. Here's my dry sponge. Both of them are damp right now, but the sponge with the edge cut out of it will be used as my dry sponge. So I dip my wet sponge into the water, I wring most of it back out into the empty bowl, and then I apply a thin coating of it to the surface of the stone. I can squeeze out any excess that I have and set it down. And then I'll pick up my dry sponge, which of course is, as I said, dampened, but just not soaking wet. And I will use that to remove most of the water from the surface of the stone. This isn't actually drying the stone, it is just evening out the coating of water on the stone so that I can begin to roll. So my roller is already rolled up in ink. We did that at the very, very beginning. So I lay the roller down and back and forth and back and forth. I'm trying not to apply much weight or much pressure, but back and forth a few times, and then I recharge my roller. That is, put more ink onto it, and then I wet the sponge again. So wet sponge, and then dry sponge, and then roll. This mimics what will be happening in the printing process, but at least for now, we aren't really concerned about keeping track of how many passes. A pass being wet sponge, dry sponge, and then a series of rolls with the inky roller. You'll note that I'm going in a different direction here, and sometimes you need to do that in order to get a stone to take the ink in all areas of it. And really what I'm going for here is I'm rolling up my stone until a point that it looks very similar, at least in my eye, to what it looked like before I started this process, what the original drawing looked like. And at that point, I'm going to want to stop and fan my stone dry and assess it in terms of what it looked like when I first drew it, that is, on the dry stone. So we're going to continue this a couple of more times and then move on to the next step. There's no rush here, and in fact it's important to note that if your stone rolls up full, that is, it looks dark enough after one pass, you probably have too much ink on your roller, or possibly you're pushing too hard. And the problem with that is that ink will tend to fill into areas we don't want it. And while it's possible to remediate, it's really better to start slow and build the image up to the point where you know you want to stop. And that's where we are on this stone at this point. And now I'm going to fan it. You can already see the stone starting to dry. You can see what looks like lighter stone creeping in from the edges and around the image, and that is just the water evaporating off of the surface. And at this point, I'm assessing the stone based on the original drawing that I made. If I find that there are areas that seemed too light, I may want to wet the stone and roll it up further. But in this case, the stone looks good. We are ready to decide if we are going to use the exact same etches that we used in the first etch process, or if we need to augment them. But the lines that I've drawn the crayon marks that I've made around the edge and the transfer itself seem to be taking ink in a way that I was expecting. So I'm pretty happy about it, and as a result, I'm going to mix up identical etches and apply them identically to the first etch process. So we rosin and talc. Now, of course, drying the stone before moving on to this step was for two reasons. One, it was to assess the quality of the roll-up, but also to ensure we're not placing any of our dry materials onto a wet stone. Here comes the talc. You move it around gently and scoop it off. You'll want to be more careful, frankly, than your first etch process at this stage because the ink that you have on there is wet and it could smudge. So we want to avoid it smudging at least until we've got the gum layer down. Here is one of the etches that I've mixed up, which is going to be applied after the pure gum stage. So I've poured a small amount of pure gum right out of the container. I didn't have to put it into a small bowl first. And in this instance, I'm going to apply it with my hands. Now, if you watched the first video, you'll know that I used a brush, and that is perfectly fine, however sticky it might be. But anyway, I really enjoy applying it by hand, so I'm doing that here, and I will just wash my hands off before I have to touch my camera next. So nice and slow, and I'm not pushing down too hard. I'm really just flexing out my hand and using the tips of my fingers and my palm. I'm moving the gum around, ensuring that it is going everywhere on the stone. Okay, on to the etch. Now, as you'll recall in this stone, other than the pure gum, there was only one other etch mixed, and this is it. And I'm going to apply it through the pure gum layer just as I did in the first etching process. I'm going to go over all parts of the stone that require this particular etch, let it sit for a short amount of time, a minute or two, blot it off with my dampened gum sponge, and then reapply. I'll continue this process for a total of 3 times. Now, the main reason we do this process 3 times is to ensure that the acidified gum gets down into the stone, desensitizes the areas around the drawing, and ensures that the drawing itself will remain stable during the printing process. Also, because we are applying our etches through a layer of pure gum, they are diluted slightly. So applying them 3 times ensures that we get the maximum efficacy out of our etch. Now we blot away the etch just like we did in the first etching process, and we will apply a second and then a third application of this particular strength of etch. Now, I made you watch the first application in its entirety, and we will skip through the next 2 applications. Before we apply pure gum back to the surface of the stone and using our sponge, mop it around and draw out a really even thin film. After that, cheesecloth. You don't need to apply too much pure gum at this point. Really, it's just enough to ensure that any parts of the stone that have begun to dry during that etch application process are now saturated again and can be pulled down into a smooth, even film. And now I want to remove as much gum as I possibly can, leaving as little as I can on the surface and avoiding streaks if possible. And I'll do the same with my first piece of cheesecloth. I'm not pushing too hard, much like in the first etch process. I'm really at this point just trying to thin it down so that the stone becomes slippery. What you will notice at this point, and you shouldn't be too worried about it, is that your drawing that's been inked up at this point may begin to come off on the cheesecloth, and it may begin to streak and smear on the surface of your stone. You don't have to panic though, because your stone has now had several minutes sitting under gum. The gum has protected those non-image areas of the stone, and as a result the grease can't get down to the stone itself and embed itself. So we're going to continue to buff here for a couple of minutes, have a look at our stone, and then we're ready to set up registration marks and begin printing as soon as we like.